He sat alone at the bar. When I saw him, I knew his name. The last time I saw him was a baseball park. Hitting homers brought him fame. He was happy to tell me stories, as long as Jim Beam joined us too. So we traded buying drinks and like baseballs, the stories flew. He told me of the long balls, some of the farthest ever seen, and of facing legendary pitchers and swings that brought him to his knees, and about the old ballparks that history's left behind. And I still see the big guy in the batter's box in the ballpark of my mind. They were some young child's hero for what they did with a bat and ball. They brought joy to our springs and summers, sometimes into fall. But the ball players get old and the kids grow up in kind, but they still stand tall in the batter's box in the ballparks of our mind. I stopped for a cup of coffee. There were donuts in the case. His workday nearly over when I came in at lunchtime late. He poured himself a coffee and greeted all of us inside. And the donuts were as good as the baseball talk. My trip was worth the ride. My boyhood hero standing there telling stories. He was wired and it wore flour to the elbows. Once threw balls of fire. His playing days long over, but none of us forget his blazing fastball, the scary curve, and his heroics with the bat. They were some young child's hero for what they did with a bat and ball. They brought joy to our springs and summers, and sometimes into fall. But the ball players get old, and the kids grow up in kind. But our heroes stand tall in the batter's box, in the ballparks of our mind. He steps into the batter's box like 1,000 times before. He's an old man playing a young man's game, wearing minor league decor. He played a few years in the majors, but the pitchers showed no fear that in the minors he can hit the long ball. He's a hometown hero here. The fans come out to see him, but the scouts don't give him looks. He still hits the ball out of the park, his name atop the record books. And one day soon he'll hang 'em up, and he'll always have a story. For the grown-up kids who watched him play, his hero there'll always be. They were some young child's hero for what they did with a bat and ball. They brought joy to our springs and summers, and sometimes into fall. But the ball players get old, and the kids grow up in kind. But our heroes stand tall in the batter's box, in the ballparks of our mind.